I'm thinking in a positive way. Like we usually find this kind of local bottom around the full moon, and just with it being in Sagittarius, it is more optimistic. Jupiter's influence, it is expansive. So I'm expecting a more expansive move out of this full moon. What do you think,
Yeah.
Corinne?
No, I definitely agree. I am very excited about this full moon. Um, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen immediately so we can look at the astrological chart. So for those maybe that are new to our podcast, here we at an astrological analysis, or rather just the positionings of what's been going on in the cosmos. So it's been really interesting to see. Also, just kind of to wrap up what's where did my moon phases go? Let's put some moon phases up so we can see those as well. There we go. So we had from the all-time high that was created, we've just had this period up until, I mean, we're recording today on the 15th of May. And so that's been more than 60 days of just Bitcoin with really just like finding its, I feel like it's just finding support before it heads to its next expansion. And I also wanted to just remind us all that we've only just come out of the post shadow Mercury retrograde on the 13th of May. So this has just been a stabilizing period, I feel is like the best word. And for you guys watching this recording or this podcast on the full moon day, we would have just gone past the Venus-Uranus conjunction and the Jupiter-Sun conjunction on the 18th of May. So I think we've already started to see the expansion happen there with Jupiter's influence and also Uranus, which is so big for technology and breakouts as well. So maybe on the day of or couple days before or after the full moon, I do feel like we'll create that local bottom, or maybe there could be a little bit more of like a little pullback, but nothing big, because the astrology that I'm seeing from this 18th of May onwards is just looking really great for Bitcoin. Just looking at the transits specifically for Bitcoin on the 23rd of May, so the full moon in Sagittarius. The outer planets that are still lingering, because Claire, you touched on regulation, and
Mm.
that's represented by the 10th house. So Bitcoin's natal 10th house. We still have Uranus that is playing in there, and that's an outer planet. It takes some time. We'll talk a little bit on Jupiter and Venus now out of that and moving into the 11th house a little later on. But now we've also had Mercury come in and be that and be in that 10th house. So with Uranus still in the 10th house, you know, this is potentially still some sort of sudden changes or disruptions, in particular when it comes around regulation. And now with Mercury that's come in and also joined Uranus, there could be an increased news or flow or announcements regarding the regulation. And that could either stabilize or destabilize. It just depends on the type of news that comes out. And generally, you know, that's just the volatility that we've been seeing for these past 2 months. So there's a little bit more of that to come, but it is starting to look a bit positive, a bit more positive. And also, just touching still on the outer planets, we still have Uranus that is square the natal Neptune of Bitcoin. This is taking a while. Again, these outer planets take some time to go through, and that creates confusion and uncertainty around Bitcoin's long-term vision, ideals, and its role in the financial systems. So this aspect here was kind of what we have been seeing, these short-term dips in the market. But for us that, you know, we're here, we understand what Bitcoin is and its technology. We understand, or hopefully that helps us with feeling less confused for its long-term outlook, but definitely a bit more confusion that creates for the short-term outlook. And another important thing is also that Mercury, while it's transiting, especially during these degrees in the 10th house, it is square the natal rising of Bitcoin. And we spoke last episode how that's really important, the rising sign in regards to the public image. So, or the public image of Bitcoin. And at the same time, because I think these two things intertwine, while it's squared, so creating some challenges around the public image, it's also trine the sun. So that's positive. So this is good. This is like people trying to understand at a public level, what does Bitcoin look like? And with that positive trine, it's like, hey, this is Bitcoin's core identity being understood and publicly received. Like people are starting to understand its purpose more and more. So I wanted to touch on those because they're really showing up with this full moon. And to add on to the full moon in particular, or that particular aspect, so we do have the full moon occurring in the 5th house of Bitcoin while the sun is transiting through the 11th house. So the 5th house is creativity, but also risk. And if anything, I feel like this is empowering us for risk taking, of course, calculated and managed risk. But it's like, hey, this is a more favorable time to take a chance on Bitcoin. And with the sun going through the 11th house, then that is the community and the gains of the community as a whole. And so this is a positive thing for that potential expansion during this full moon time. And like I just kind of showed, I feel like, I mean, we're already seeing it today. Again, this is the 15th of May, we're recording this, but I do feel like we are headed in a more positive direction thanks to this full moon and of course these other various aspects that are occurring. I feel like that was the 29th of May. I do feel like that's the start of like a next little turning point. So like kind of to draw a picture, I'm really feeling like this full moon or prior to that with these various beautiful conjunctions that we're having on the 18th of May. It's like, it's just positive, like, and that I feel like that's when we start immediately with those heightened energies or feelings. People are immediately jumping straight into a little bit of that greed or euphoria. And the 29th is going to be that turning point because and we'll probably we'll drop these in the comments and notes below on the episode. But you know, leading up to that, we have really beautiful aspects and harmonious aspects happening for Bitcoin. In between from the full moon to that 29th of May, we have Venus that is trine Bitcoin's natal Mercury and sextile the natal moon of Bitcoin. So that's really beautiful, attracting more investors. Then we have Mars sextile the natal Neptune. So think Mars is what like ignites things. It's that Aries energy behind it too. And with Neptune, that it inflates and creates dreams and sometimes a little bit illusions too. So we have to be careful of that. That's like probably a bit more of like a bullish time. And then in between as well, we have Mercury sextile the natal Uranus of Bitcoin and trine the natal Saturn of Bitcoin. So see how these are all like harmonious, beautiful aspects that really just stimulate market activity and are attracting investors. Yeah. On top of that 29th of May, and why I also really see things starting to turn around is that the 29th of May, particularly for Bitcoin, is that Mercury that's, you know, quickly moving through Taurus, it's going to be square the natal Neptune. And also we have the moon that is conjunct the natal Neptune at the same time. So Neptune's really, Bitcoin's natal Neptune is really being hit. So again, we spoke with Uranus and being squared natal Neptune. It's like that confusion and that emotional flux that could definitely impact us as investors and then therefore in fact affect Bitcoin's price. With the Mercury, it can be, you know, that misinformation, miscommunication, misunderstandings. And with the moon being conjunct moon, think about it's like those emotional, deep emotional feelings that we have, and its sensitivity, but also irrational reactions. So I feel like that's where the instability comes. And I see that up until the 1st of June. And the 1st of June is kind of the big one that I'm seeing happening. I mean, in between, we have the moon being sextile natal Mars. So that might make a bit more of that energized action, whether up or down, we'll see. And then also the moon conjunct the natal Uranus. So while it's also in opposition, the natal Saturn is just adding to that recipe of like, instability, volatility, and people's emotions being heightened. Now, really on that 1st of June, which I think will be, and here we're looking again at Bitcoin specifically, is that then we have Saturn, which is in opposition to the natal Saturn of Bitcoin. At the same time, we have Saturn being conjunct the natal Uranus. And remember that Saturn creates resistance. Now, that doesn't always have to be a negative thing, because sometimes that can actually be, hey, instead of resistance, it's just creating a really solid support. So if we're seeing Bitcoin's price drop there, that's actually probably for us as investors a good time to be like, hey, Saturn's really involved here. This is creating a really solid support. Of course, back that up with your technicals. So that could be a really great opportunity for us to look at maybe potentially other sorts of entries. And at the same time, there's also the moon square the natal Mars of Bitcoin and conjunct the natal moon of Bitcoin, all happening at the same time. So this can be like even more on that volatility. I know it's a word I keep saying, but that's just really like, there's just no smooth sailing around this time. And also like a bit of a recipe of like stirring up like aggressive market behavior. So, and think of that with all that's happening with Neptune, it's just like the confusion. So I think it's really important for us to be aware. And, you know, if you guys are new to financial astrology, these might be just some nice dates to mark up in your charts. And just keep an eye out between that 29th of May, 1st of June, and catch yourself with the types of emotions that you might be feeling during that time for what's occurring in the markets.